Hello and welcome. In this video we're going to discuss what are some alternatives to a Tesla Model Y in 2022. Make sure to check out the recommended products and services in the descriptions and also like, comment and subscribe. So I think it would be good to have a refresher of what the Tesla Model Y actually offers. Tesla is currently selling two different versions of the Model Y, the Model Y Long Range and the Model Y Performance. They are very similar, but the performance is, as the name says, a bit higher performance. So it has a higher top speed, also reaches 60 miles per hour or 100 kilometers per hour faster, and it's only about $5,000 more expensive. Keep in mind that both the price for the Tesla and also for all other cars on this list might depend on the exact options you're going to purchase with them, and also based on if the country where you're living offers some kind of incentives to buy an electric vehicle. So overall, both of the Teslas are quite similar, and also in terms of pricing are quite similar. Obviously, Tesla is the leader in electric auto vehicles, and your decision to purchase a competitor might do because you do appreciate some other parts of the car more than what the Tesla is offering. And I think there are a few categories to compare the cars. One is what type of drive terrain they option. So is it single motor, front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, or dual motor, so all wheel drive, uh, triple motors, or even quad motors. The range is obviously a very important factor when deciding what electric vehicle to purchase. And if you're more performance oriented, you might care what the top speed is or what the maximum speed is, or the time to run a quarter mile and so on. So let's have a look at some of the variants. The first alternative I think would be the 2022 Audi Q4 e-tron. It starts at a lower price than any of the options for the Tesla Model Y, but it is also offers a bit less in terms of capabilities. So in terms of performance, it definitely performs worse, and also in terms of range. However, on the design, you might appreciate the design of the Audi a bit more. And I also personally think that the interior quality and the design of the interior of the Audi is a bit nicer than the one in the Tesla Model Y. Another very similar alternative is the Audi Q4 Sportback e-tron, which is very similar to the previous car we've just discussed. This one probably has an even nicer exterior. Then we have the Audi e-tron, which is getting very close in terms of pricing to the Model Y, but in terms of the range that it offers and also in the performance, it is behind. But it is a bit roomier than the Model Y, and also as with the previous Audis, I think the interior is nicer. And we also have the Audi e-tron S, which is getting close to performance to the Tesla Model Y. However, it is still behind the Model Y performance. And last but not least, the Audi e-tron S Sportback, which, similar to the previous car, has very good performance, and it's very close to what Tesla is offering. Switching car manufacturer, next comes the 2023 Cadillac LYRIQ. It has a starting price that is below the Tesla starting price, and it promises very similar capabilities in terms of range, so over 300 miles, which is very close to what Tesla is currently offering. It is definitely a bit worse in terms of performance of the 0 to 60 time. And I think one thing that is gonna let it down to some people, maybe they're gonna opt for different options in the future, but as it is now, right now it's supposed to come with only 4 seats, so 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and not a 5-seat option. So maybe some people that have a larger family or regularly transport more passengers in the back might find that as a drawback. However, from the exterior styling, I think it looks very nice. And I think probably Cadillac is going to do everything that they can to price this as low as possible, just because I really think that a lot of the future of the Cadillac brand is going to depend on this car. After that comes the Volt EUV, which is a very interesting option if you're considering a much cheaper EV than the Tesla Model Y. This is basically half the price of the Model Y. Of course, it's not the exact same category as the Model Y, but it offers a very good range for this price point, and it's also a very good car overall. We also have the Dacia Spring, which is the cheapest on this list at only around $22,000. I don't think this is going to come to North America, but it is going to be available for sale in Europe and in other countries. And it is probably going to be a pretty good city car, or very useful for very short commutes. I think this one has two major drawbacks. One is the pretty short range, only 142 miles or around 230 kilometers. And also the 0 to 60 time of around 90 seconds is very bad. I would almost go out and say I would not feel safe taking it out on a highway, knowing I can accelerate and merge into traffic so slowly. Then we have one of the biggest competitors the Tesla Model Y already has, and which I think it is already eating in its sales, and that is the 2022 Ford Mustang Mach-E. It's a very similar car to the Tesla Model Y, both in terms of range and in terms of performance. It has very nice styling and also a very strong brand name behind it. I was very surprised that Ford would use the Mustang brand for a SUV, and especially an electric SUV, considering what the Mustang heritage is. But so far, I think that the sales have not disappointed. I see the Ford Mustang Mach-E pretty much everywhere I go, and it seems to be a very popular car. And it is very closely matched up to the Model Y in a lot of areas. Afterwards, we have the KONA Electric, starting at around half the price of the Model Y, and also offering very good performance with a range of about 250 miles or around 400 kilometers. It's a very good car. It's of course does not have the acceleration capabilities of the Model Y, but if that is not one of the main drivers for you, I think this is a very strong alternative. We also have the IONIQ 5, which I think is one of the top competitors along with the Mustang Mach-E. It offers very similar characteristics in terms of range, and also has very good 0 to 60 time of 4.4 seconds. And I also absolutely love the design of it. I think Hyundai did something very different here with the styling. I really appreciate that they were so courageous with it and made it look so different. It's almost in the same category with the Cybertruck, and every time I see one on the street, I see people turning their heads and looking at it. So I think in the next months we're gonna see the sales of the IONIQ 5 go up a lot, and it is overall a very strong competitor to the Model Y. Then we have the Jaguar I-Pace, which I'm a bit on the fence with the Jaguar I-Pace. It's definitely a nice car. It has good aesthetics. It's from a well-known performance or luxury performance car manufacturer. But I think it is a bit pricey. In terms of capabilities, it is slightly below the Model Y, but it is in the same price range with it. It definitely has a much higher quality interior than the Model Y, and from that perspective, it's much nicer. But I think a lot of people are not going to consider it because of the price. If this was probably around 60,000 euros, I think it would have had much better sales than it currently has. Then we have the Kia Niro EV, starting at close to $40,000, with a range of around 239 miles and a 0 to 60 time around 6.2 seconds. I don't think it's that strong of a competitor to the Model Y. There are definitely other cars on this list at a similar price point that offer higher range or better performance. So I'm not sure how successful the Kia is going to be. Then we also have the Kia EV6, which is around $40,000 starting price, with a 328 miles range, 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, and a really nice and futuristic design. To some extent, the front even reminds me a bit of the Model Y. So I don't know if that was unintentional or it just happened. But I think this one is going to be a very strong competitor to the Model Y. It definitely undercuts it a lot in terms of pricing. Kia generally makes really good cars for their price point. So I think this is going to sell very well, and we're going to see a lot of these on the street very soon. Then we have the Mazda MX-30 EV, which starts at around $33,000, but I don't think it's a competitor to the Model Y. It's definitely a much smaller car than the Model Y, so that explains a lot the price difference as well. But I think the biggest problems with it is that it only has a range of 100 miles and a 0 to 60 time of 9 seconds. So I'm really looking forward for Mazda to make a much better electric car in the near future. Now, Mercedes has a few cars that are in competition with the Model Y. The first one being the Mercedes-Benz EQA. In terms of pricing, it is around $10,000 cheaper than the Model Y, but also the performance is a bit worse with a smaller range and also a lower 0 to 60 time. But the interior design and the interior quality of it is way ahead of the Model Y. Then we also have the Mercedes EQB, which for me personally is my favorite electric Mercedes so far. And I think if it would have had a range of over 300 miles, it would have beaten the Model Y in a lot of people's choices. But given that it has only 262 miles, which is still pretty good, I think some people might still pass it over because of that lack in extra range. The Mercedes-Benz is also a bit more boxier than the Model Y, so probably the drag coefficient is a bit worse, and that is one of the reasons why it has a lower range. Of course, it also has a lower battery capacity. And of course, the Mercedes-Benz EQC, which can be a competitor to both the Model Y and also the Model X. It definitely has a bit better performance than some of the other Mercedes that we've looked at. But the range is only 255 miles, and it is also more expensive than the Model Y. Then coming later this year, we should have the Nissan ARIYA, which will be a very strong competitor in terms of price. It's priced very aggressively, and it has very similar range to the Model Y. Of course, a slower acceleration time, but I don't think a lot of the people are going to be that interested in that necessarily. So I think we're going to see a lot of these on the street. We also have the Opel MOKKA-E, which is a smaller car than the Model Y, but for some people that use it mostly as a city car, I don't think that is necessarily going to be a drawback. The range is much lower, and also the 0 to 60 time is definitely much worse. The Peugeot is another competitor, also a smaller car. I think the big problem with it is that it has a pretty small range of only 175 miles. And for this range and the package that it has overall, I think the $44,000 price tag is a bit high. And I think it is gonna struggle in the market against other cars such as the Hyundai IONIQ 5. And a very interesting electric car coming this year would be the ŠKODA ENYAQ EV SUV. ŠKODA makes really great cars, very practical, generally with great interior space, great boot space. So it is going to be a strong competitor to the Model Y in terms of practicality. It also comes with a 253-mile range. It would have been nice to see that at over 300 miles, but it is at the same time coming in 20,000 euros cheaper than the Model Y. So I think that is definitely going to count. The Subaru Solterra. This one, I have mixed feelings about it. In terms of the traditional people that buy the Subaru, that like going outdoor, I think for them the range of only 225 miles is going to be a letdown. In terms of styling, I personally don't like that much how it looks. I think other Subarus from the past have looked much better, but you know, styling and looks, it's very subjective, so some people might like it a lot how it looks. But it is definitely coming in at a very cheap price, so you could see a lot of people moving over to it. The Toyota BZ4X coming in at around $40,000 with specs closely matched to the Tesla Model Y, especially in terms of range, around 310 miles or around 510 kilometers. With a pretty slow 0 to 60, I would say, at only 8.4 seconds. But this is also one of the reasons why I was saying earlier that maybe a lot of people don't really care that much about the great accelerations that Tesla have. Sure, they're fun to experience while in the car and to show to your friends, but in real-time usage, you're probably rarely gonna take advantage of that very fast acceleration. And for a lot of people, myself included, I would prefer to have a car that is significantly cheaper, that it still offers very similar practicality in terms of interior space, boot space, and range. The Volkswagen ID.4 starts at around $41,000, slightly smaller than the Model Y, and it has a range of 250 miles or around 400 kilometers, also a 0 to 60 of over 8 seconds, comparable to other models that we see. And last but not least, we have the Volvos, with the Volvo C40 Recharge being the first one, 262 miles of range, and 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, and also the Volvo XC40 Recharge starting at $56,000 with a range of 208 miles and a 0 to 60 of 7.4 seconds. So to recap, I think that in terms of choice, there's never been more choice in terms of the class of crossovers where the Model Y operates in. And I think there are some very strong competitors in this segment for Tesla and the Model Y. I think the Mustang Mach-E is one of them, the Hyundai IONIQ 5, another one, the ŠKODA, also the Toyota BZ4 are going to be very strong competitors, especially considering the big price difference between them and the Model Y. Obviously, there are a lot of other factors that are going to play into this. The most important one being how fast these other manufacturers are going to be able to scale up the production of their electric vehicles. And also, in a lot of geographies, Tesla has the advantage of the Tesla charging network. Obviously, there a lot of other competitor charging networks that are being spin up everywhere, but some users are gonna probably appreciate the convenience of the Tesla superchargers. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and talk to you next time.